Keep that in there. That's the transition. What's up, bro?
What's going on, man?
I'm grateful you came on because you're someone that I've noticed is really easy to talk to.
Appreciate that.
I didn't really know where I wanted to go with this conversation, but we kind of got a few topics that we were just discussing, but I kind of want to start with where we were before we hit record.
Yeah.
So just kind of I guess the question to start off would be, you have a coach, I have a coach, and we can kind of talk about that, but what was it that prompted you to get a coach, and what are you kind of working through in that process?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you actually having me on the show. And yeah, we go back now, it's been a couple years, and that's another thing though too. So like exactly how we met is we met through a mutual friend, and my whole thing has always been I've always been around. You know what I mean? Like everybody will be like, "Oh yeah, I know Tim Nela, I know him." But I've always had like jobs that people would know me through the jobs, but then I would do other things on the side. So for example, you and I connected because you reached out to a friend of mine. We posted that video content for you. I was actually in that video when you did that. This is what, COVID 2020, right?
Yeah, beginning of pandemic.
So example right there, that wasn't my production, but I was involved in it. So it's like there's always things that are going around and I'm always around. But like in regards to having a coach, the reason why I have a coach now is because I need to hone into exactly what my calling is. So example, I've been in the auto industry for 8 years. I'm a full-time real estate agent now. I've been a paid actor. I've done speaking engagements. I've done stand-up comedy. And I'm not bragging by any means. It's just a matter of, you talk about like a jack of all trades. There's a part of me that feels like I have that, but then there's a part of me that also goes, maybe that's not a good thing, because now you really need to say, what is it exactly that you do and what are you going to run with, right? So that's where I'm at now with coaching. So like when I do it used to be weekly conversations. Now I do it bi-weekly. A lot of it is just a matter of like getting out of my own head. A lot of it is just a matter of just going, okay, you have all the right ideas. You say all the right things, but now you need to execute. And I think the big thing though, Keegan, is just a matter of like, for me, I've always wanted to make sure that I've had things in the right place, right? So for example, now it's my son will be 14 months tomorrow, and I'm coming up on almost 2 years of marriage. So that all this stuff is new to me. But for a while, I took steps backwards because I wanted to focus on what that is, right? I wanted to focus on being a family man. I wanted to focus on being a husband, focus on being a father. Now I've gotten to the point where I haven't figured it out, because you never will. But now I'm telling myself, okay, get back on the saddle. Get back to exactly, why are you here? What is your purpose? Like, why are you a person that people are intrigued by, people are able to converse with, but like, what exactly do you do? You know what I mean? So it's just, that's been my struggle right now. And that's where coaching has helped me. But for example, like with you, I mean, are you in that kind of transition as well too? I mean, like, why do you have a coach?
Well, this is the reason I wanted to start with this topic, is because I'm actually going through the exact same thing. I mean, I probably ask myself that question every day. What is my purpose? What do I want to do? I'm looking for that thing for me to just dive all the way in on, because I have like all this pent up energy where I just want to work hard on something, but it's just a matter of finding out, okay, what is that vehicle? So that is why I hired a coach as well, is I really wanted to align with my purpose and like my calling and what I can really provide for the world.
But see, like with you though, and I'm not going to throw age out there, but I know I got years on you, right? So the fact that you're having those conversations now at your age, that just tells me how far ahead you are than when I was your age, right? Because when I was your age, I wasn't even thinking about coaching. I mean, when I was your age, I was just partying, legitimately partying. I wanted to be a social butterfly. I wanted everybody to know who I was. And then now I'm at the point where like I feel as if I should have been having a coach. I should have been having these kind of conversations when I was your age. But then again, you can't go back to what it was, right? And so there's a part of me that also goes, maybe I needed to go about things the way I went about things to put me to the position I'm in right now, right? Because I feel like with you, I think you already got your thing figured out. I think it's just a matter of, for you personally, the way I view you is you're smart, you're charismatic. You know what I'm saying? Like you're easy to talk to, and you've had hustles before in the past.
Mm-hmm.
You have the energy already as it is. I just feel like with you, coaching is going to put you in a position right now where you're going to figure it out before you're 25. Because what, you're 23?
22.
Oh my goodness.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that, man. And it's really not because I'm doing anything different or special. If I could boil it down to one thing, it's who I surround myself with. It's surrounding myself with people like you. Because that whole cliche saying, you know, you are the product of the 5 people that you hang around the most. It's cliche for a reason. Like, my life didn't start to change. Really, actually, it was when we first met.
Yeah.
And we made that video with Nick.
Yeah.
Like, that was a pivotal moment of my life, is because I started to surround myself with people who were thinking on a different wavelength than people my age. Because it is, and I still have so many friends at my age, and I have a lot of love for them. But with some of them, it's like I would say the people I talk to now, you know, they're not toxic. But there was a period of my life where I was hanging out with people who necessarily weren't in alignment with what I wanted to do.
Yep.
And so just surrounding myself with people like you. But in terms of your, you know, journey of finding your purpose and finding your calling that you and your coach are going through, like, what is there any like tactical exercises or like questions you're asking or things that you're going through to get closer to this answer?
Yeah, man. I've never been a person that likes to fully write things down, right? Like write tasks down. Like, I'll do yearly goals. I'll put it down on paper. I'll say like, hey, my goal for this year is to read 36 books. I'll write it down one time. And for some reason, I'll accomplish that goal. But it's just a one-time thing. With my coaching right now is we're doing weekly, bi-weekly tasks where I'm checking in. I'm making sure that whatever we talked about, that I execute. Because that's the thing now is like, that's what's helping me out the most with this, is because it's not really just like being held accountable. It's just being like, hey, you said this. Now go ahead and do it. Like, you know what to do. For example, right now, one of my tasks is, okay, so I want to create content in regards to real estate. I want to create promotional content in regards to real estate. If I didn't have a coach, I would have just said it. I may have gotten it done, but it wouldn't have been done within the 2 weeks that we said we're going to do it. So the crazy thing is we talked about it, and then just the aspect of just going to my phone, looking at my task, checking it off. Oh my gosh, the satisfaction of that.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, with coaching now, it's telling me, hey man, you got somebody here right now that is not you telling you that you need to do something. And for some reason, I don't know if it's like with parenting where you feel as if there's somebody that's depending on you and solely you, for example, my son, I know for a fact that I need to get this done, because if I don't get it done, he can't get anywhere forward because he depends on me. Mm-hmm. So with my coach, it's like I have to let my coach know that I'm going to do exactly what I said I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. And if I don't do it, then I'm letting not only myself down, because sometimes letting yourself down doesn't really affect you that much because you're like, you can bounce back, but letting somebody else down. And so that's where I've really gained the benefits of coaching, and that's what I enjoy about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's something to be said about creating those tasks for yourself and then checking those off.
Yeah.
I think that's where true confidence is really built. I've noticed in myself when I set, because I think we all have these ideas, right? We all have these ideas of what we want to do with our life, these dreams. Oh, I'd like to pursue this. Oh, I'd like to do that. I have that goal. But what really, like, in me has developed a self-confidence is actually writing that down and checking that off. Because then you know you can trust yourself. But if you like write all this stuff down and you just don't show up and do it, you're not going to trust yourself. You're not going to feel good. You're not going to be confident. And so I think that's a powerful piece that I think was valuable for people to hear, is like keeping the promises you make to yourself is probably the most valuable thing that you can do for your self-confidence.
And that's the hardest thing too, man, because a lot of times what happens is everybody has great ideas, but just following through with it seems like the toughest part. And I don't know if it's just subconsciously we don't want to follow through because we just feel as if, oh, what if, or you're just nervous about something. Mm-hmm. But with the coach, it's just like, okay, well, I need to do it because guess what? If I don't do it, the next conversation that we have is, why didn't you do it? And then now you have to explain why you didn't do it. Right. And it's like, okay, all right, that's a pass. Now next week you're going to do it, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Are you sure? Yeah. Then next week comes, if you don't do it, it's going to have to happen, right? Or unless you want to just tell yourself that you're not going to do it. And then if you're a person like myself, and I know you are, you're going to be like, oh, no, I said I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. So is it fair for the audience to reach out to you and be like, hey, Tim, where's your real estate content at? If it's not
Please do. Please do. Yeah, please.
Okay.
And that's the thing. I talk about that all the time where it's like accountability partners.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I don't know you, if somebody just reached out to me after seeing this and going, hey, so how's, I'm going to be like, oh, damn. Like, I just let that person down. So I'm going to make sure I get it done. So yeah, anybody can reach out to me at all times. And I'll reach out to you too.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think, something that you brought up that seems really powerful is just talk a little bit about, having a son and what that's done for your perspective on life and just, your career, your purpose, and that type of stuff.
Keegan, man, having a son slowed everything down. And I mean that in the best way ever, because the moment I had my son, the moment I became a father, it's just as if things just started to click. And like it clicked instantly. Like so you played sports, right? And in the game, when you're in the zone, it's like things around you aren't moving and you're moving at a rapid pace, right? That's what fatherhood has done for me right now, where I just feel as if the things around me are sitting still and I'm in a zone where it's just like I'm doing this. And I don't know if I would have gotten to that point until I became a father, because before I was a father, I mean, I would just do things just to do things. Now it's like I'm doing things with a purpose. And then especially the fact, so this is going to sound weird. So for example, in my house right now, our basement is unfinished. So it's just like, it's me, my wife, our son, and then now we have a puppy, right? And so we have family daycare. So my son goes out to family daycare. My wife now works from home. So she occupies like the living room area. That's her area. She does her thing. I've actually turned my son's room into my office when he's at daycare. Reason being why. When I'm sitting in his room, at any second where I have any kind of discouragement, where I feel like I don't feel like doing anything, I literally just have to look up and see his crib. Look to the left, see his photo. Look to the right, see his clothes. Snap out of it. It puts me in a position right now where I'm like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because of this guy right in this room. And so it's just wild how, like I said earlier, if I let myself down, it's just like, okay, I'll be fine. I'll figure it out. I'm not letting my son down. I'm not letting my wife down. And now even with this puppy, like we just got this puppy a couple weeks ago. Now I'm in love with this puppy. Mm-hmm. Literally just shit in my room before I got here, but I still love this puppy. Mm-hmm. But then like, it's just wild how 5 years ago, I didn't have any of this. None of this. I wasn't married. I wasn't in a relationship. My wife and I just met 3 years ago. Didn't have a puppy, didn't have a dog. So it's like I was carefree living, and then now it's like I'm adding more and more people to my life, and the more people I'm adding to my life, it's holding me accountable to the point where I'm going, I can't let these people down. Mm-hmm. And I love it.
So having this accountability with your son, the puppy, your wife, and other people in your life, has it changed anything in terms of your ability to come up with ideas and come up with a vision for your future, or is it more so just a fire that's kind of keeping you walking towards those things?
It's lit a fire underneath me right now, where it's just, I understand the ideas that I've had in the past. I have to follow through with them now, because if I don't, I'm letting them down. Back then, I always kind of felt like I can just like let things pass. And then I started seeing people around me moving ahead of me. And for my competitive nature, I respect it. I appreciate the fact that they worked harder than me. Now that's not even an option. Now I truly don't feel like there's anybody that's going to work harder than me when it's something that I want to get done, because now I know for a fact that I can't just lackadaisical go about things. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's a situation where it's just like, maybe it was the relationship that, and I know for a fact it was the relationship initially, but like the more and more people I keep adding into this life or into the circle, or even like, for example, like friendships, like when you have friends around you that are winning, man, when you're winning, I'm winning. And then that motivates me to actually want to go do more. And that's the thing, like you talked about earlier, when you surround yourself with those kind of people, when you see people around you doing dope shit, when you see people around you accomplishing their goals and putting things on paper and following through with it, you kind of go, okay, well, you know what? I do this all the time. I go, if I can touch you and I know for a fact that you're doing something and I can touch you, why can't I do it? Mm-hmm. When I was growing up, I used to always see celebrities, or I'd see people from the TV, and I'd be like, man, that's not real life, man. I don't even know where this person is right now. But now in the world we live in with social media, with content creating, we're recording a podcast right now in your home. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, something like this, I thought that we couldn't even do this. So now there's no excuses.
Yeah, that point I don't think can be hammered home enough. And this is a quote that Nick actually was the first one I heard it from, and it was that high tides raise all ships. And that's always stuck with me because I think the idea behind it is you have this community of people around you, and it almost becomes like this ecosystem where everyone feeds off of each other and collectively it expands. But if one person isn't holding up their bargain, it kind of is like this cancerous cell in the ecosystem. But if everyone is on their shit and you can surround yourself with people who have a similar mindset that you want, are healthy people, have the values that you value, are on a similar path entrepreneurially if that's a path you want to be on. Surrounding yourself with those people, you get plugged into this ecosystem where it's like, okay, I have no other option than to feed to this, because it's almost like this level of you like feel like guilt for like being in this community, in this ecosystem, and like not holding up your end.
And that's the thing too, man. You don't want to be an anchor, you know. And sometimes what happens is when you are an anchor, it's because you don't have your things figured out. So if you don't have your things figured out, it's hard for you to be around other people that have their stuff figured out. So then all of a sudden now you become that anchor, even though you don't notice it. You are the anchor, and then when those people start passing you by, then you realize, okay, I was the reason why they wasn't trajecting to the direction they wanted to go, because I was holding them back. And a lot of times what happened during this stint when I kind of took a step back and I just wanted to focus on myself and focus on my family, that allowed the people around me to accomplish their goals and do things that they weren't doing when I was around, because I truly kind of got to a point where I was going, maybe I was the reason why these people weren't flourishing. And it sucked, but sometimes you just got to be honest with yourself.
So in terms of your own life, what kind of practices, habits, routines, actions do you take that are essentially you showing yourself that you're taking care of yourself, and you showing yourself that you're showing up for yourself? Like, I'm sure it expands well beyond just business. If you could kind of just unpack those different areas of, self-love that you give to yourself that allow you to show up for yourself, your family, and your community.
Well, yeah. So I'm gonna keep it real right now, and I don't even know why I say that, because I keep it real all the time. But so around this time 5 years ago, and I was actually living in this area. Something happened to me, man. So my parents' anniversary was October 15th, and this is October 15th, 2017. I remember the day vividly. It was the Packers were playing the Vikings. It was Anthony Barr had injured Aaron Rodgers that day. So this is back when I was a wild child. I was about 29 years old, and I'm drinking, right? I'm drinking, hanging out with my friends, doing all this stuff, and then like I passed out at a buddy's house, and then I'm like, okay, it's time to go home. I'm about to head home. I stopped by the Chipotle here in town, and then another friend of mine calls me, kind of guilt trips me, because once again, this is 5 years ago. This is me only caring about me, had no one else to worry about. All of a sudden, a buddy calls me up. He goes, hey, man, come on, man, you got to come over. And I was like, hey, man, I got to go home. It's Sunday. I got to be back at work tomorrow morning. I'm working in the car business. And then he's like, I mean, you got to stop by. I'm like, okay, I'll stop by, right? Because at this point, there wasn't a reason for me not to stop by, because it was just me, myself, and I. So I go to the guy's house, have a couple more drinks. Later on that night, I'm out now. I'm out downtown with some other random people. And then I get in my car. Some guy that's with me, he's like, I'm not getting in the car with you. I was like, come on, man, let's go, man. And at that point, I'm going, why would you not get in the car with me? Like, we're just going right down the block. I'm driving nonchalantly, thinking nothing of it. Woo, woo, woo. Pulled over. DUI. DUI, October 16th, 2017, right? And at this time, so they take me in. So this is Sunday night. So Monday morning, they take me in. I'm in there for a couple days. And I'm self-reflecting in there, man.
So you're in jail for a couple days.
In jail for a couple, and I've never been to jail, right? And I don't think anybody even knows. Not a lot of people know this, right? So I'm in there for a couple days, and here's the thing, man. I was going through some thoughts, man. Like this is 5 years ago. I went through suicidal thoughts. I went through just crazy thoughts and just thinking of how I'm a failure. Because I was born in Sudan. I was born in Africa. I moved to the States in 1994. I've come such a long way from where I was at when I was born. War-torn country, the list goes on. Lived in Kenya, lived in Nairobi, did all these things to put me in a position now where I'm sitting here like I'm in a cell. My father's a medical doctor, has set us up to be in positions where we have no choice but to be successful. And I'm sitting in this cell right now because I wanted to drink and drive home. And I'm going, the severity of the situation right now, Keegan, I'm going, what the fuck am I doing? Right. And I remember this. I started writing notes on my phone. I started recording videos. I just wanted to remember exactly where I was at in that space. At that moment when that happened to me, when I got out, I mean, like, it was still tough. I mean, I was going through the list of things of just, what the fuck, right? So then spiritually, that's when I started praying. After that, I used to be a person, I was raised in a Christian family, things like that, but I never was like a churchgoer. I tried it. It wasn't my thing. And I still don't go to church now, but spiritually, I started praying. This is where every night I drop to my knees and pray. Every morning I drop to my knees and I'm praying. And so now this is 5 years ago. So that spiritual guidance of just prayer, and from a guy like me, like, I used to never be the person I would even give credit to the Lord and Savior, things like that, just because I just thought that things were happening because of me. Like, I truly was selfish, man. Like, I just really thought that everything was because of me. Prayer was powerful. Now, you fast forward 5 years now, I pray consistently. I have the Bible app. I read that daily. In regards to, like, the people around me, in regards to, like, my family, like, I'm more present. Personally, I don't like talking about this out loud, but because I'm not that person that wants to throw it out there. I'll be 11 months sober as of next Tuesday, I believe, for the 1st of November, whatever it was. I stopped drinking this year, and that has nothing to do with anything. But for me, it's just like for clarity, for being present, for being invested, for being a father, for being a husband. All these things all stem from 5 years ago when I went through all that bullshit. And now I'm at the point now where I still don't feel as if I'm anywhere near where I want to go, but I feel like I'm taking all the right steps. And I just really am excited to see what's going to happen moving forward, man, because like now I'm 100% locked in. I'm 100% locked in. Like, I get up at 4:00 in the morning consistently. I believe in fitness. I believe in a healthy lifestyle. I believe in just being present. I believe in actually cherishing relationships. These are all things that I did not believe in 5 years ago. These are all things like, if you would have met me 5 years ago, you would have thought I was cool, right? Because I'd buy you drinks and all this stuff. But then, like, that was it. You know what I mean? Like, you'd kind of be like, well, this guy, he's dope, but I mean, is there anything else he can offer? You know what I mean? And once again, that self-realization had to happen through that situation, which luckily nobody was hurt. I didn't hurt myself. Nothing like that happened. But I think it was just like that wake-up call that I needed to put me in the position that I'm in now.
Wow.
I'm my bad, dog. Like, I've never said that out loud.
Man, I appreciate I appreciate you sharing that, because I think it's very powerful for other people to hear. And the thing that kept coming up in my mind as you were talking is, it seems like, I do believe in God. I'm not necessarily Christian, but I do believe there is some sort of intelligence that is watching us from a different perspective and guiding us to a path that's in our highest alignment. And it seems like there's either the path or you're not on the path. And if you're not on the path, after a while, it almost seems as if God, or, whatever you want to call it, will start to throw like little pebbles at you to like be like, hey, like, you're not supposed to be doing this. All right, you don't listen to the pebbles? Okay, they start throwing rocks. Those might hurt a little worse. Eventually, if you don't listen to the pebbles and the rocks, you're going to get a boulder thrown at you.
That was a boulder for me.
And it sounds like you got the boulder.
Yeah.
So do you feel like that whole time, did you know, like, oh, I probably shouldn't be doing this? Was there like little pebbles, little rocks getting thrown your way before the boulder came?
Well, so that's so funny because, yeah, there was plenty of pebbles, right? Plenty of pebbles throughout all those years growing up. And then the rock, because I had a DUI prior to that, which was 5 years prior to that, right? When I was 24. But that was, once again, that was the rock. And at that time, I was like, okay, well, okay, I can bounce back from this. And then I kind of, then when that boulder hit me 5 years ago, at that point, I was like, okay, enough is enough. Because you can only play with fire so many times, right? And I truly feel as if when you saying it that way, it's so accurate, because I think everybody goes through that, and everybody's story is going to be different. And some people, their pebbles, their rock, their boulders is something in which, like, they're in prison for 5, 10, 15 years, or situations where they lose somebody. So I got to the point where I'm going, okay, he's testing me But my test is way different than the next person because my test is just more like, hey man, you know what you need to be doing. Just stop trying to try me. You know what I mean? Like, you know for a fact you're not supposed to be doing this kind of stuff, so just stop it. So like my second DUI was more of a situation where it's like, hey, you're not gonna hurt anybody, you're not gonna hurt yourself, but if you keep playing with me, that next boulder, shoot, what's bigger than a boulder?
A whole mountain.
I'm gonna get hit with the mountain, you know what I mean? So then I'm like, I don't want to mess around with the mountain.
Because here's the thing, I truly feel like if after that, moment when you had the DUI, you're sitting in jail for a couple of days and you're contemplating all these things. If after that you don't go back and turn things around, who knows what would have happened to you? And I feel like it comes down to how stubborn you are.
Yeah.
Like you had the opportunity when you were getting pebbles to turn your life around. And I've been through similar things. Like I was too stubborn. I was like, no, I'm good. I'll just keep going. And sometimes for some people, it takes bigger than just a boulder, or it takes a boulder. So I think that the lesson to extract out of that is like, you know what you're supposed to be doing. And if you're not, God's telling you, or the universe, or things in your life are probably out of alignment. And if you don't fix it now, there's going to be a time where the boulder's going to come and you're going to be forced to.
Isn't that crazy? And you know what? And it seems like everybody goes through it, right?
Yeah.
But then there's some people that they go through it later in their life. Some people it happens earlier. So it's like everybody has to go through something just for them to grow. And I just feel like with my situation, that was the best thing that could have happened to me today. Saying it at the time, like I said, I was at a point where I was going, okay, man, I think I don't need to be here anymore. And that's scary to think because of something that you're supposed to learn from. But that's where I think society now, Keegan, we've gotten to the point where we hammer home perfection for everything and everybody. So then now when people are committing suicide and people out here right now are feeling like they're failures, it's because this is like this is the pinnacle right now. And it seems like if you're not at that pinnacle, everybody, you're a loser.
Yeah.
And you should be able to make mistakes. You should be able to learn. You should be able to grow. And I feel as if nowadays that's not even an option.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because now when you're seeing young kids taking their own lives and young kids out here doing things, you're going, come on, man, it's okay. You're gonna make mistakes. It's okay to learn.
Mm-hmm. And I think that pinnacle that you're talking about is being so exacerbated because of social media.
Man.
We get these skewed perceptions of people that we see with all these followers, got the nice cars, all the girls, all the money, traveling the world, doing all the coolest things. And we get this skewed perception of them without realizing that that person is literally just a highlight reel of their life. That's not their whole story. And they're probably struggling with the same things that you are. And I think a healthier space that social media could be in is if people were just more vulnerable and being like, yeah, my life's not perfect. My life isn't this highlight reel. I'm going through these things, because I think it's sad how this whole idea of suicidal thoughts seems to like permeate throughout our entire society. I know I've been there. I'm sure 99% of people have had suicidal thoughts at some point or another in their life. And I don't feel like it's talked about.
Yeah, and why do you think people don't talk about it? I mean, because people do go through with it, right? I mean, a lot of people have gone through with it. I mean, I just did a charity event here recently in which like it was in regards for suicide prevention awareness, because it's something that's very common, but I just don't know why people, because I used to be uncomfortable even saying it. You know what I mean? Like there was a part of me that was like, even like now saying it out loud with you, I'm like, damn, I actually just said that out loud. But some people, I don't know if it's just ashamed or if it's something which they feel as if, it's hard to even talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, they might, I feel like maybe there's a sense of like, oh, I'm failing. If I'm having those thoughts, that means I'm failing in some way. Like if I'm having those thoughts, I'm not doing good enough. Because if I was doing good enough, I wouldn't have any thoughts like that. And I think a lot of the reason that people don't talk about it is the same reason that, we feel just uncomfortable saying it. It's just uncomfortable to like go there.
But people can openly say mental health though. And I feel mental health and suicide are the same thing. Personally, that's how I feel about it.
I agree. I think they are. Yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon that, is common. And again, this is just my assumption. I don't know if it seems like it's common though.
Yep.
Because I know if it's happening to me, and I'm at a point now where I'm in enough alignment where I don't have those thoughts anymore. But I know if it happened to me, that there's no way that it's not happening to everyone else, because I don't feel like I'm different than anyone else, you know?
Yeah, no, and that's funny that you said that, because I feel the exact same way, where I kind of go, because there's a part of me where from the outside looking in, somebody's going to be like, there's no way he can have those kind of thoughts. I mean, he's got this, he's got this, he's got that. But then I'm looking at other people when they do it, I go, why do they take their life? You know what I mean? Like, I thought everything was good, but we overly abuse mental health, but we don't want to talk about suicide.
Yeah, because that's like the worst strand that comes off mental health.
That's what I'm saying.
Because like it's one thing to like, you know, have mental health issues and be struggling, but the worst possible thing that is an effect of someone struggling with mental health is suicide. I mean, what worse can happen than that? So, yeah, why don't we go to the root, you know? And why do we just say mental health awareness, you know?
And that's and but that goes for a lot of things though too, because like even like with health, I feel as if the root of a lot of things is health. I mean, like in regards to COVID, when COVID was happening, that should have been the wake up call for everybody to get healthy. I dealt with COVID at the start of the year. It didn't affect me the way it affected other people who are unhealthy. And I'm not trying to bash anybody, because now like you can't body shame or you can't say things about people. And I'm not even trying to do that. I just go, everything that happens in regards to like health, based off like getting sick, being in positions where like you're just not living a healthy lifestyle, it's because you're doing it to yourself. You know what I mean? Like, I legitimately strongly believe that you have to be active.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's just, but like, you can't speak on that either, because now you are being, what I mean, I don't know, man.
It's like you can speak on it, but it's like almost you get this shade thrown at you, like for not thinking the way someone else thinks. And when I think of COVID, relating it back to the other metaphor that we were using, COVID might have just been like a rock from the universe for society. Because I feel like we're at a time where we are very unhealthy.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe it is a thing where it's like we're going to get these pebbles, you know, different diseases and things happen to us. But then COVID was a pretty big deal. I mean, that affected a lot of people on many other levels than just physical. I mean, that went into our economy, that went into people's socializing skills, which in my opinion is an aspect of health. But yeah, that's almost like a little rock being thrown at us.
I feel like COVID was a boulder.
Yeah, you know, it was pretty damn big.
Well, but like other people are probably viewing it as a pebble, because some people just kind of didn't wake up from it, and some people are still living their life the same way they were living before. For me, I looked at it where I'm going, okay, man, this is a wake-up call of wake-up calls, because at this point right now, if you're not living a healthy lifestyle after knowing what COVID did to so many people, when are you going to? Like, what's going to be the next thing that's going to put people in a position where it's like, okay, man, like, I need to be active. I need to be moving. I need to do something.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like for society, it definitely was a boulder, because it was so big. For me, I've always been, you know, passionate about being healthy. I've always been, you know, into training and eating healthy, and just really trying to like make my body as healthy as I possibly can. Because to me, it's like a game. Like, it's fun. Like, I wear a Whoop, you know, it's like,
I've seen that. Yeah.
I'm constantly tracking like, okay, what's my heart rate variability? You know, what's my recovery score? What's my strain for today? It's like fun for me.
Correct.
Because it just makes me feel so damn good. Like, when I'm the healthiest, I feel the best. There's a direct correlation in there.
But see, I don't understand why people don't want to be at high performance all the time. Like, you doing that is you're telling yourself you want to be at high performance. You want to be locked in. You want to be invested. You want to be the best version of you. And that's where health comes into play. That's why, like, sometimes like I go, yep, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning at the gym every morning at 5 a.m. And people kind of go like, why? And I go, what do you mean, why? You know, I mean, like, I just don't understand why. For me, it's more, why not? You know, it's like, why are you not doing this? You know, I mean, like, the same people that complain to me about how they despise their life and how they despise the way that they look and how they despise, the list goes on, are the same people that could have that shifted just like this by just being active, by just adding a gym regime. You don't even have to go 5, 6, 7 days a week. You can go 3 times a week. You don't even have to go to a gym. Just walk.
Yeah, literally. It's just about moving your body.
That's it.
You know, I feel like, and the thing that would make it most effective for people is like just find the way of moving that works best for you. I mean, pickleball is becoming huge now.
Yeah.
You know, if you like pickleball, boom, there's your movement.
That's your
You get community, you talk to people, it's great. But just finding a way to like get your heart rate up on a regular basis is probably the best thing that you can do, not only for yourself, but then we're talking about, you know, being able to show up for the world and our families and the community around us. Not only are we taking health into our hands for our own self, but without being at high performance, we can't show up for our loved ones at our best, in our best state.
I mean, and we talked about fatherhood, right? So if I'm 34 and I have a 14-month-old, soon to be 14-month-old son, what do you think I'm thinking about right now? I want to be around as long as possible for that son of mine, right? So how do I do that? By being healthy, by being present, by being active, by just doing and even in regards to like eating, like there's so many things that we just put in our bodies that are so bad for us. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I eat the best food, but like I combat it with, at least I get up and move, you know, and like eventually I think as I get older now, like there's certain things that I've eliminated and certain things that I don't want to put in my body that I didn't care for when I was in my 20s. But it's just like, I just don't understand why you just wouldn't want, why would you not want to be with your community knowing that you're at your best?
Yeah. And I think there's so many layers to health. Like you getting a coach and, you know, uncovering your purpose and getting more clear on where you want to take, that's an aspect of health to me. Like I really view it as like this holistic wheel where, yeah, you got your physical health, you know, that's where you're moving, you're sweating, you got your nutrition, you got your mental health, you got your spiritual health, you got your financial health, you got your community, like all these things. It's kind of like this big, you can't just like pick one. I mean, one is probably a good starting place, but once you get that dialed in, start to add these other things around, because I think when you have that full cohesive structure of a healthy life, that's where you're going to feel the best, but also be able to make the most impact on the world.
Isn't that amazing? And then it like you said, make the impact on the world. It allows you to be places. It allows you to meet more people. It allows you to like, it's just wild how you can actually talk to certain people and they don't give a damn about health at all. And I'm looking at them and like in regards to like aging or just your skin. I mean, just anything about you comes back to health.
Why do you think that is?
People are just lazy. I think people are just lazy. I think people want to substitute certain things. So, for example, some of the people that are the most unhealthy may have the most money. Let's just say, for example. And so what they do is like, oh, I'm not worried about that. I'm racking in all this money. But what's the need for all this money? I was listening to these old heads at the gym the other day where the guy was saying, he's going, I can have all this money, but if I'm not there for the people that I want to be there, what's the need to have all this money? You know what I mean? So it's like, if I put myself in a position and my family in a position where they have all the money in the world, I love legacy. I'm all about legacy. They're going to be set for the rest of their lives, but daddy's no longer around. They don't care about any of that stuff. They want to make sure that I'm here, that I'm with them for as long as possible. Yeah. So all that other stuff, like you putting in all these hours and working and making all this money, but you're not taking care of your body, you're not there for your family. What good are you doing for them?
Yeah. Think of the other end of that too, though. If you're only at the gym, only worried about, you know, getting as big as possible and just all about the fitness life, and your financial health is in shambles, and then your family's also going to be like, hey, like I'm starving. Like I want to be able to just relax. I want to have healthy food. So that comes back to that whole wheel. Like if you're too
invested in
on one of those spokes, it almost like it kind of destroys the rest of it.
Correct. And see, and that's the beautiful thing is like when you figure out that balance, because for some people right now are straight gym rats, right? I've gotten to the point where when I go early in the morning, they're sleeping. By the time, so when I get home, they're just waking up. So they don't even know that I've been gone. Well, they do, but like, let's just say they don't know I've been gone for a couple hours at the gym. But when I get home, all they know is that my energy level is high. And so now, whether it's go out for a walk, take the dog out for a walk, run around with my son, I'm once again present. I'm there, and then throughout the rest of the day, now that fitness aspect of it's box checked. Spend a little time with the family before they go to daycare or before they go to work. Check. Now it's time for me to take care of my business. Example right now. This right now is more. This isn't business. This is more personal, right? This is what gets me going. We're doing this. Check. And I go take care of other things. I have a full day, and then I get my 6 hours of sleep, and I'm not complaining.
Yeah. So what do you think about the whole concept of people being morning people versus not being morning people?
So for example, my wife is a night person. So
Mm-hmm.
she's a night owl. So I laugh just because we're Game of Thrones fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we still have not caught the season finale of House of the Dragons. But the thing is, she wants to start watching it at 10 p.m. after we've put the son to bed, did all that stuff. I'm not watching it at 10 p.m. because if we started at 10 p.m., I'm not going to finish it for one because I need to be in bed around 10. That's just how I operate. And so when you ask that question, it's weird to me because everybody's different where I have my juices flowing and I'm at my best at 4 a.m. From 4 to roughly 2 p.m., I feel like I'm at my best. After 2 p.m., I kind of start slowing down a little bit because at that point I'm actually getting tired.
Mm-hmm.
But like when people say that they're night people, I think the difference is because sometimes some people, they need the rest of the day to catch up. They need to go through all that stuff throughout the day. And then at night, in most cases for them, when they don't have to worry about all the other stuff, that's when they can be in their element. That's when they can be in their zone. A guy like myself, I get myself so fatigued that when it comes time for nighttime, my brain's shut off.
Right.
Like I'm just ready to go to bed. Are you a night
I
owl?
am. That's
Really?
Yeah. So this happens pretty frequently where, I'll go through the day and it'll be like 9:30
Mm-hmm.
and I'll just hit this creative flow where it's just like all these ideas just start rushing in and I just like lock myself in here and I just dial in. And then that might last till like 12:30, 1 o'clock. But the aspect about it that's so satisfying is the idea, like I like that it's dark outside and that other people are sleeping. So it's like this a similar thing that I hear a lot of morning people talk is they like, being up before everyone. It's dark out. Like there's just the idea of like serenity that they can just lock in because everyone else is sleeping. I'm like the same way, but it's on the other end. And I've tried to switch it, but like I operate best when I wake up like 7, 8, sometimes even 9 o'clock.
That's crazy because I was just listening to this podcast and this author was saying how all of the books that she has written, she had wrote them between 9:30 p.m. and 4 a.m. Yeah, and she's advocating like, hey, you want to get your sleep, you want to wake up early. She advocates that, but she is at her best between 9:30 p.m. and 4 a.m. So like with you saying that, like those creative juices and all that stuff, I've never been at that point because when it comes time for nighttime for me, I'm just checked. I mean, like I will sit on the couch because I feel like for me, once 10 p.m. hits, that's probably the first time throughout the day where I actually am able to rest, right? I'm able to sit down. Because what happens is throughout the day, it just feels like I'm just running. So the moment I sit down, I shut off. And that's where like sometimes the only way that I can keep moving throughout the day is by not sitting down. So like it sounds kind of bad. Like I can't stop moving. Once I stop moving, I'm done.
So I'm assuming in the morning you get that same like spark and
Exact
flow.
same thing as you.
Yeah.
So but what you said though is right though. So like it's dark. Everyone's asleep. It's the exact same thing. 4 o'clock in the morning. If I'm on the road 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm just driving. I'm listening to podcasts. I don't got to worry about no cars on the road. It's just like me, myself, and I. When I'm at the gym in the morning, it's not that big of a crowd. I'm still in my element. I'm in my zone. You know what I mean? And then when I get home, that's when I start realizing, okay, I'm gonna start seeing more people. I'm gonna start doing things, and then now I'm getting myself prepped up for that.
Okay.
You know,
that makes sense.
I mean, it's just, but I understand where you're coming from too. I would like to try your approach. I just can't stay up late.
I feel like it's just about knowing yourself.
That's
like,
true.
There's this concept of sleep chronotypes. So I forget the name of the author, but he essentially laid out like 4 chronotypes. So like I think he compared them to animals. So there's like the lion, the dolphin, the wolf, and then I think it was like the deer or something like that. And he just used that to make it easier for people to remember. But for example, I think the lion was like the type of person who feels most alive in the morning. And like they get up early and they just go. And I saw that, I'm like, fuck, I want to be a lion because that's way cooler than being a dolphin, right? But I think I was a dolphin, which is like wake up like 7:30 to 8:30, and their most creative time is at night.
Yeah.
So I think it is just like about knowing yourself and what works best for you. Because sometimes I question, I'm like, damn, am I just being lazy? Like, should I just get up early? But then it's like, even when I do get up early, I don't like feel focused and alive and like locked in.
But see, and I hate when people like say like we all have the same 24 hours, right? I can't stand that because I don't believe in that. And I've said it before in the past, but now I've gotten to the point where like I don't believe in that at all because for you, your 24 hours is going to start towards the end of it. For me, my 24 hours is going to start in the beginning of it. So it's just like it doesn't matter when it clicks for somebody. It's just a matter of when it clicks. Some people it doesn't click at all. Some people aren't night, morning. Some people just like get up at noon and will go to bed at 8. You know what I mean? Like they just have this little window where I'm just kind of going like, and it's just rinse and repeat. So it's just like everybody's going to be different. But then again, when you talk about these 24 hours though too, some people are able to accomplish more because they have more people on their team that are able to do things for them. Right? You know what I mean? So you can't compare yourself to somebody else because if I'm trying to compare myself to like an Elon Musk, I can't. How many people do you think are doing the things that Elon doesn't want to do in a 24-hour day?
Yeah. I think that's so important to talk about is like people who are really successful, they don't get there by themselves.
No.
They seem like they're most successful because they know how to lead a team that gets things done. It's like a coach of like a football team. They're not going to play every single position, but they're going to coach the team to win the championship.
Correct.
And it takes a great coach to win a championship, just like it takes a great coach / entrepreneur to have a successful business.
Man, I love how you said that because when you think about that, a coach knows everything but can't do everything. So now I can't throw a football, but the quarterback can. I can't run a ball. The quarterback can, but I can put you in the places to succeed. And that's amazing that you said that because I've never even looked at it that way, but that is so accurate.
Yeah. And that's kind of like where I feel like I'm trying to step into is like I want to be able to lead a team, but then it's also like there's that imposter syndrome that kicks in like, fuck, I'm still only 22, so I'm like, damn, do I still have to play running back for a while until I
eliminate that?
Yeah.
Don't even worry about that. I mean, are you now humbly? Are you a person that's able to outsource? Like, are you fine outsourcing and having other people do things that you can't do?
I do. I enjoy it a lot. Like this podcast, for example, I outsource the production of it.
Okay.
Like I could, and it's my good friend Will.
Yeah.
And now, like I know he's always going to be my video guy, and as long as he likes to keep doing that stuff for any type of business I want to do, because that's where he succeeds. He enjoys doing it. And now I could, plug it into my iPad and learn the softwares and do it. But I'm like, I'm going to give that to someone who actually enjoys doing it. And then I'm going to focus on what I want to keep doing.
Correct. But now you're on the right path then, because now you've outsourced that to your buddy Will, and there's other things that's going to happen now too that you're going to be like, I don't really excel at that. Let's say if it's like in regards to like the social media aspect of putting it out there, you got somebody else that is enjoying and able to do that, outsource that. So now all of a sudden you got to a point now you have a team of 3. You know what I mean? So like, and that's how all that stuff grows, where if you can humbly say, man, I don't know how to do this. Can you do this? Can you do that? But I think the problem is so many people want to do things on their own, and they're trying to compete with people that have outsourced and they have other people doing things for them.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like you're going to hit that wall, because if you're going to try to do something individually, good luck.
Yeah. And I'm sure it gets harder as you get more successful in a business, because I just have a feeling that, say I had a business where I was, cash flowing, say 30 to 40 grand a month, and I got there by myself. I can kind of put myself in that situation and feel that there might be an aspect of me that's like a little scared to do it. It's like, okay, I got flow. I'm doing good right now. I'm kind of scared to outsource this because I don't want things to get fucked up.
Yeah.
And that's even what Io said on the last podcast is he's like, there's still like support tickets or other aspects of his business that he knows he shouldn't be doing, but he's still doing.
Well, and that's the hardest thing though too, is because like just finding other people that have the same belief that you do. And sometimes like passing those keys off to somebody else is so hard, because you're going, I got here by myself. I mean, I'm doing well. I can keep doing this. Will I burn out? Most likely. So that's the reason why I'm thinking about getting somebody else here. But if I get somebody else here and it stops this flow, stops the momentum, then I'm back to square one. You know what I mean? So it's just like, and I think it just takes time for you to kind of like get comfortable with the people that you want to have included in your team.
Yeah.
Because you just can't have anybody on there.
So if you were to, have a team around you outsourcing different tasks for your career, your mission, etc., what role do you feel like you would want to keep playing and really thrive in?
So that's a really good question, because I think what I'm really good at is people. Like I truly feel as if like I just enjoy being with people. I enjoy conversation. These are the kind of things that I feel like nobody can do better than me, and I mean that humbly. But then now, in regards to like when you talk about production, you talk about just the outreach. I feel as if I struggle with that just because I have this problem where in sales, for example, I don't like to bother people. You know what I mean? Like I'm the person where it's just like, hey, if you need something, I got you. I can help you, but I don't want to be the person that's constantly just reaching out to you because I feel like it gets annoying. Because if somebody does that to me, it's annoying to me, right? But so if I could have somebody that's able to like, hey, you know what? You could put all that stuff out there. You're promoting it. I have somebody that does production. I have somebody that's just like that's with me. That essentially, if you could set me up with an appointment to go do this, I'll show up. I'll do my part. But I just don't really like to be like, hey man, how about we? You know what I mean? I always feel like I'm bothering somebody, you know, and I don't want to be the person that's bothering somebody.
So then maybe something I would offer is like, is there a way to set up your business in a way where it's strictly inbound leads?
There is. There is. Yeah. I mean, and that's one, because like I've thought about like consultant services, right? I really have thought about doing that. But then again, once again, I just feel as if I could put the plan in place and have somebody actually put it out there for me, then we would succeed, right? But I think that would be the best way to have those inbound leads where it's just like if it's out there, they reach out to me, and it would be easier that way.
Well, that's what I'm thinking of. Is you're talking about having this social media content for real estate. If you're posting information on real estate, educating people about buying their first home or educating people about how to refinance, or just all these different, terms and aspects that happen in your world.
Yeah.
If you were to just strictly put out education and just become people's top of mind.
Yeah.
Because I know like if I was living in the Rochester area and I'm following you on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, I would recommend posting on everything. Because once you have one video made, you can just distribute it across. But it's like, oh, now I'm thinking about buying a home. The first person that's going to come to my mind is like Tim. Because like, oh, I remember seeing Tim make a video about, how to go about getting your first home. And that all of a sudden puts you as an expert, as an authority in that field.
But see, they always talk about the 80-20 though. So they say 80% personal, 20% business, right? And so it gets dicey because do you want to be the person that's always posting the content in regards to real estate? Or do you want to just post real content on like what you do on a day-to-day? Because like there's parts of me right now that kind of goes, example, like this right now. I want to post something like this just to kind of let it be known that I'm not just throwing real estate related stuff at you. You know what I'm saying? Because like I want people in the real estate world right now, what you see is there's so many more people being engaged through social media because they understand that people want to work with somebody that they can relate with. And the only way they can relate with you is if they see you in an element that's not related to business, right? So like if I do the 20% of business whereby I post in regards to like if somebody closed on a home and I'm there, or if somebody listed their home, or just anything in regards to like just highlighting them for business instead of just trying to like throw information out at people all the time. Because eventually what's going to happen is someone's going to be like, man, well, clearly all he cares about is himself and his business, but who is he as a person? You know what I mean? So that's kind of where like it gets tough because I don't want to be that person that's just bombarding people with things that are real estate related.
What if you had a separate page?
I do. So I do have a separate page. But then now, so for example, like last week, what I did on my separate page was I posted content where it was myself, my wife, and my son. And then I said, here is my why, right? Because I want to let you know, like, hey, personally, this is me. This is my family. But business, this is what I do it for, right? And it got really good engagement because that's just me being organic. And also kind of letting them be known, like, hey, if you work with me, understand that I'm going to go to bat for you based off the fact that I need to provide for these two, right? Versus just like throwing, hey, I have this house here or I have this here, because not everyone else is doing that, right? And I think the transition right now in real estate and just even a lot of things in general, like people want organic. I mean, for example, if you're one of my clients, right, here's what I do. We'll connect like this over the phone, right? And during that conversation, I'll say, hey, Keegan, so is it all right if I send you a video message just to put a name to a face, right? Because instantly what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to break the ice. Because what happens now is once I put that phone up here like this, I press record, I'm not replaying that video. I sent you a video like that last week.
You did.
I didn't care if I articulated. I didn't care if I mumbled, if I stumbled, whatever I said, I just sent it. And in most cases now I try to keep it less than a minute, probably 30 seconds at best, and just put it out there. And I've gotten pretty good feedback from it where people may have not responded the way that I want them to respond, but when I met them, the guard was already down.
Yeah. That I think is really powerful, because I'm even thinking just how that could apply to my own career in sales, because that's the biggest thing I deal with is like that trust. Because purchasing a home or purchasing a solar system, like that's a big purchase. So people want to feel like they can trust, someone who's, they're going to, once they see things like, oh, he's a family man, he has kids, he has a wife, he's a real person. He's not just like this robotic salesman. I think that's really powerful.
Well, that's what was tough too. That's why I love the fact that like podcasting and things now is more video related now.
Yeah.
Because in the past, everything was just consumed through like radio and through just audio, but now it's visual, because I feel so many people are better, because like everybody always talks about like, I'm better when you see me face to face, right? And the best way to eliminate that is by posting that content through video. So it's like when I talk to somebody, I always say like, I don't think I match my voice. You know what I mean? So I feel as if, because I sound young. I get that all the time. I sound young. So then when I meet people are like, oh, how old are you? I'm like 34. I'm like, oh, you're actually older than you sound. And I'm like, yep, eliminate that. You know what I mean? Because like, I don't need anything to get in the way of what the goal is. The goal is when I'm working with people in regards to real estate is I want to just be your advocate. I want to assist. I want to help you. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about what car I drive. Don't worry about how I sound. This is me. This is what you're getting. If you call me, I'm picking up. And that's just kind of how I am in life in general. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the person where I just want to be your accountability partner at all times. So for anybody that's listening, if you're like, you just need to talk to somebody, in most cases, people do it. People call me all the time just to talk. And I listen. And the thing is, like, I shoot them straight, though, too, because it's one of those things where I feel as if I need someone to shoot me straight. It goes back to coaching, so then each one teach one. He coaches me, and I get to coach other people, and it just works that way.
Yeah. So you were, I want to say this. This is something that happened to me last night. I was on a phone with a customer, and they told me that I sound like Draymond Green. Right? I was like, I have never heard that before. That was really interesting. But the question I wanted to ask you is like, what types of content, what influencers, what are you consuming and putting into your mind to feed this, self-development and growth in your life?
So rest in peace. A lot of Kobe. I listen to a lot of Kobe. But then now also just like outside of celebrity, I listen to, like, for example, you had Io on the show. I communicate with them daily. There's just people that are so like-minded, but I feel as if there's people out there that will say things that I don't want to say. The more I listen to them, the more comfortable I get saying what I want to say. And so it's just like when I see people just taking the leap and just doing things, for example, like you just doing this, that's what inspires, that's what motivates me. Because when I listen to celebrities, the problem is I feel as if I'm not at their level, so I really can't connect with them the way that I want to connect with them. But like if I hear someone like you, like once again, if I'm able to touch you, then I go, okay, so why am I not able to do what he's doing? But yeah, I mean, it's just like you talked about earlier, like you surround yourself with these people that just motivate you internally, and it makes you just want to be the best version of you.
Yeah. Yeah. Say someone's hearing this and, they want a better life. They want to break out of the patterns and habits that they're in, but they're still surrounded by a crowd of people who are kind of being anchors and holding them down. What advice would you give to that person?
My advice to that person right now, because I've been that person, focus on yourself. I mean, selfishly, it sounds bad. You have to be selfish. You have to focus on yourself, because the people around you, you don't know what stage of life that they're in. Some of the people around you, they're probably going through the same thing you're going through, and you guys are just misery enjoys company. You know what I mean? Like you guys are just going around in a circle together. If you're out there right now and you feel as if you're not at the place in life that you need to be, take a step back, focus on yourself. Don't worry about what other people are accomplishing. Focus on what you need to accomplish for yourself and take it one step at a time. Like realistically, you get to a point where all these things will happen to you. Bro, 5 years ago, I had nothing. Now there's a wife, there's a son, there's a puppy. We built a house. And once again, it's not bragging. It's just a matter of all these things happened because I took a step back and I just said, hey, you know what? I enjoy all these things that are happening around me, but none of these things are allowing me to grow as a person. And then the moment I took a step back and had to focus internally on myself, that's when all these things happen. But it takes time. It doesn't happen instantly, and it's not instant satisfaction. You know what I mean? It doesn't instant gratification. I'm sorry. It doesn't happen instantly.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of time, but it's consistency. So it's like, for example, like right now, 4 words that I have: plan, execute, commit, pivot. Those are my 4 words right now. I'm gonna put a plan. I gotta put a plan down, right? Mm-hmm. I gotta execute a plan. If you don't execute a plan, what's the need for a plan? Mm-hmm. Commit to it, and then pivot. Because if something happens that I'm not ready for, I gotta be able to pivot. I gotta be able to shift. I gotta be able to change, right? Mm-hmm. And so like that's how my brain works. I'm at the point where it's just like I understand that these are the things that allow me to move forward. Everybody's different, but like there's a lot of people out there right now that they need to hear it from somebody else. Mm-hmm. So if you hear it from me and I'm the person that's going to light that fire underneath you, I want to be that guy.
Yeah. And I also think like even if someone hears it from you and, you know, it might not click, you're still like planting a seed. You know, it might take someone hearing it 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, however many times, but every single one of those steps was an important role because it led to the next one. And I think an important aspect to highlight about changing your life and stepping out of, you know, a company that is miserable, for lack of better terms, or just like a life that you're not happy to live with, is if it feels uncomfortable, if it's hard, like good, that means you're doing the right thing.
Exactly.
Because if it was hard, or I mean, if it was easy to break out of those patterns, if it was easy to leave that friend group, if it was easy to turn your life around, everyone would be doing it. Mm-hmm. But I think it's so important to just know, like, if it's fucking hard, good. That means you're on the right path.
And the thing, too, is I always say this, where the things that you're great at, cool. You're great at it. Put that to the side. What are you not good at? What do you struggle with? What are things that scare you? What are things that you feel like you just can't do? Focus on those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because why perfect something that you feel that you've already perfected?
Yeah.
Where's that taking you? And that's what I've learned right now is I started saying yes to certain different things that I never even would have thought about doing years ago because I was like, man, that's not me. I don't know who I am. I'm just saying yes to things right now. But obviously there's certain things out there that I'm like, I don't do that because it's just not me. But there's a lot of things that I've started doing in the last few years. Man, like I put tiles in my house. I've never done that. Yeah. Granted, I didn't do it with myself. I did it with my father-in-law. But still, the 2 days that I did that with him, I was like, damn, like I can do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, will I do it again? Probably. Will I do it by myself the next time? Heck no.
Yeah.
But it's still something that's just like I never thought I'd even enjoy doing that, and I did it.
Yeah. I think that's huge because it's crazy when you start to commit to those things that you don't think you could do, how fast your life will turn around.
Man.
Because I even remember when I first dropped out of college, I was never really known as being like social. You know, my thing that I perfected was sports.
That surprises me.
And I went all in on sports, you know, but I actually had this thing in high school and I tracked it every single year. I never raised my hand once from 9th grade to 12th grade. If teachers would call on me, yeah, I'd answer the question, but I never raised my hand once.
Damn.
And it was like after I did it the first year, I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep this going. It was like this game I played with myself. But the point being is I was never super social. I could talk fine just with my friends, but I was never out like expressing myself out there. It was solely focused on sports. And I went all in on that. That's what I was good at. That's what came natural to me. It went well enough where I was able to get a scholarship and play in football or play college football for a little bit, but it wasn't fulfilling. And then I got out. And I realized, like, yeah, I don't really have this ability to socialize. And that was something I was bad at. But instead of shying away from it, boom, I got a job at Mayo Clinic being a transporter.
Oh, shit. You talk to everybody.
Yeah, right? So it was like my first opportunity. I was pushing people around, and I had to learn how to make conversation with people of all walks of life, young, old, men, women, just every type of person I was talking to. So then I kind of got a little bit of that ability. And then after that, I was a personal trainer. And so I was talking to people then. And then after that, I did the detailing business where I had to interact with customers then. And then I went to door-to-door sales. So my whole entire career now relied solely on talking to people. And now it's a thing where I work in sales, so that revolves around communication. Then I have the podcast that revolves around communication. So now it's like my entire kind of focus right now is really mastering influence, communication, charisma, social intelligence, that type of thing. But if you would have told me that like 3-4 years ago, I would have laughed you out the fucking room if you would have told me that's what I'd be doing.
You literally went from 0 to 100.
I still feel like I'm at like 25 because I compare myself to these people who are really good.
Correct.
Which I think is healthy because it forces me to keep going. But I do appreciate that feedback. Thank you.
Nah, because I mean, you went from not wanting to talk to people to being a transporter. I mean, at that point, there's no I can't not talk to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's 0 to 100, man.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like doing door-to-door sales, doing sales in general, doing what you're doing now. But like just that feeling though, like that you must feel so much better now saying that, knowing that you didn't think that you were able to do this. Now you're doing it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think that it just gives you that confidence to do anything. Like, do you feel like there was ever, a moment in your life where maybe it wasn't talking to people, but there was something that you weren't good at that you had the ability to kind of flip that on its head and become really good at?
Well, so for example, very similar to you. So, and I don't know if you know this or not, but so I was born in Sudan. And so when I moved to the United States, it was 1994 and I was 5 going on 6. From 5, 6, 7, 8, let's just say I was speaking Arabic fluently. That's my native tongue. Swahili, which isn't a very common language. And I was learning English. So the conversation that my father had with me as a child, my father straight up told me, he said, hey, man, there's no way we're going back home anytime soon. So as long as we're going to be here, you're going to have to learn English. And so when you're talking about being a social butterfly and just like not talking to people, for my first few years in the state, I'm in school. I'm in elementary school, whatever. I'm with kids running around. You know how kids are. And I'm kind of sitting there going like, please don't talk to me. Please don't talk to me. Because I couldn't speak the language, right? And I'm just learning the language. And I'm African-American, African at that, in North Dakota and South Dakota, right? So, yeah, that's where it all started.
Damn.
Yeah, so, like, I got to a point where I had to tell myself I need to adapt. I need to learn. And I went all in. So you talked about, like, sports. I went all in on just being Mr. Personality, Mr. Social. And like I think last time we had talked, you were like, you do a really good job of talking with people. And because I completely invested myself into that. Like I got to a point where I was watching how other people moved, how they talked, their mannerisms, everything. And I literally probably took something from every single person growing up to the point where, because I knew for a fact that I had to learn this. Like there was no ands, ifs, or buts about it. And I got to a point now where it's just like, as I continue to grow, I still see myself doing that, but just to an extent now where it's just like, oh, I like that. I'm not going to take that completely, but I'm going to add that to what I do. You know what I mean? And so like that's been my thing where like now I have no accent. So if I told somebody right now that I was Sudanese and this is my third language, they don't believe me.
Yeah, I didn't when you told me.
But I had to go into like psycho mode to get here.
I think that's such an important thing to really invest your time in mastering, because I feel like our whole entire culture revolves around communication and language. And it's like, if you don't know how to effectively communicate and talk, you're not going to be able to really inflect the change that you want to on the world.
I got just because you said that. So this past summer, we went to Bosnia, right? So my wife's Bosnian. So we went to Bosnia. We were in Bosnia for 3 weeks. Everything you said right there, I was not able to speak the language. So for 3 weeks, I was not able to communicate. So for 3 weeks, no matter what I wanted to do to impact the people around me, it was completely eliminated based off the fact that I was not able to communicate. And so I'm sitting here for 3 weeks with people having conversations, people laughing, people enjoying themselves, people living, and I couldn't partake in any of it. Now, granted, my wife was there and my in-laws were there, and like they were able to assist me in some way, shape, or form. But I didn't want to take that away from them. I didn't want to sit there and constantly be like, oh, what do they say? What's going on? Because I wanted them to enjoy the moment. So I would just sit there, and in Bosnia, it's a lot of coffee drinking. All I did, I drank more coffee in the 3 weeks that I was there than I have in my entire life, because I'm just sitting at the table. People are just laughing. I'm like, you know what I mean? Because like I didn't know what they were laughing about. I had zero clue what was going on. So yeah, communication is huge, man.
Yeah. And there's so many like levels to it. Like there's so many subtleties that can make such a big impact on how you communicate. And an example that comes to mind is something that I've kind of turned around recently is if you're ever like late for a meeting or you're not on time, instead of saying like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm late, instead being thank you for your patience. It just creates this shift where now you come off as so much more confident, like a person of authority, and like almost like they're waiting on you in a sense. And there's just subtleties like that are so important that you pick up on once you actually start to really study and dive into the nitty gritty of communication.
Yeah, see, words are powerful, man. Yeah, just that little thing right there, wonders.
Something that I wanted to talk about as we're wrapping up here is we were talking about the toad a little bit earlier. Could you first start off like just kind of paint as best as you can, paint a picture of what I mean when I talk about the toad, what it is, and then after you kind of set the scene, then dive into your experience of it.
Okay, so this sounds bad because it goes back to just experimenting, right? And so the toad, for me, still to this day, I don't even know what the toad exactly is, right?
Okay.
But I know I did it. So April 1st, 2020. That's when I did. Yeah, no, it's a vivid day because this is during the heart of the pandemic. So March 31st, I believe, or March 30th, I don't remember now. But either way, I got furloughed. So I wasn't working April 1st. So like, I didn't know how long I was going to be furloughed for. And so once again, our friend Nick, he's like, okay, here's the thing. Come to the studio April 1st. Come to the studio. Bring a blanket and a pillow. What the hell are you talking about? What do you mean bring a blanket and a pillow? He's like, we're taking a trip. And I'm like, okay, I guess we're doing it. And so my girlfriend at the time, wife now, I tell her, I'm like, hey, I'm going to the studio tomorrow and I'm bringing a blanket and a pillow. So I don't know when I'm going to be back. Because he gave me the words to tell her, right?
Yeah.
So we get to the studio and so I got to paint the picture because this is how it went down. So with the toad, we smoked it, right? Right? Because you know a little bit. And I'm not a smoker. Yeah. And so I've never smoked a cigarette a day in my life. I've dabbled with weed here and there, but like it's not really my thing. So like just smoking in general is different for me. So like we're doing this. We're sitting in there. There's three of us. We're sitting there. We got like pillows and we got those. What are those like big old
bean bags?
Bean bags. Yeah, we had those. And so I'm sitting on this bean bag and it's just like this. And like, so I'm holding this and he's lighting it for me. And like, and so I'm just sitting there like, and bro, and at this time while this is happening, I'm just kind of like, I have zero clue what's going on, right? And once again, everybody out there's probably going like, why would you even do this? Because I've heard about medicine and the toad and all these. I've heard about it. I know it doesn't kill people. I know it's one of those things where like you have to have like an open mind. And at this point, I didn't have a job. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what the future held. It's a heart of COVID, right? So I'm just going like, what's the worst that could happen, right? Right? And I know every time people say that things happen bad, but for me, I'm like, let's just do it. So I do this. So I'm sitting there, Keegan, and I'm just kind of like looking around like this, you know, like I'm like, I feel fine, man. Like, cause my ego at times tells me like nothing can stop me, right? Like I just like nothing can stop me. I remember back in the day when I used to drink all the time, I'd be like, this isn't gonna do nothing to me, and then all of a sudden I'm drunk and I'm like, oh snap, something actually happened. So I'm sitting there, I'm looking around just like this, looking around, and then finally it hit me, bro. It hit me, and when it hit me, like the room just started going, you know. So like I'm looking right at you like this, and you're just spinning. Look at the other guy that's in there spinning, and I'm sitting in here just kind of going like, I'm like, what the fuck is going on, man? What's going on, man? And I'm like, what'd you do to me? And this is exactly what'd you do? What's going on? Hey, man, is now I have no control of myself. And when you're a person that is so addicted to control, you have to release. And I'm not releasing, man. So I'm sitting there just like, I'm trying to fight this, Keegan. I'm going, what's going on? Hey, man. Hey, why'd you do this to me? Why'd you do this to me? I'm yelling. Keegan, I'm yelling. And then all of a sudden, like, my body starts like just crumbling. And then now, like, I'm laying on the ground. I'm laying on the ground. And then it's funny because I still had like my wit and my humor. So I'm going, I shouldn't be laying on the ground right now during COVID. I'm going to get COVID. I'm freaking out. And then, like, they're just kind of like next to me. They're just like, breathe. And then I'm laying on the ground. And then, like, all of a sudden, like, I start laying on my belly. And then they're like, you have to release. Now I'm telling you, like, I tripped out for 45 minutes. So for the first probably like 30 minutes of it is me freaking out, right? So I'm freaking out. I was like, you gotta release. I'm laying on my belly. And all of a sudden, like, my fists are clenched this whole entire time because I'm freaking out. I'm pissed off because I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And all of a sudden, release. So then I start slowly opening up my hands. And then at this point now, I'm just releasing. And I'm feeling myself sink in. And at this point now, this is when I knew, like, okay, this is what I need. So I start sinking in. I literally, like, sunk into the ground. And then I'm flying. And it was crazy because, like, for me, when you talk about, like, trauma, you talk about your childhood, you talk about your past, I don't really have any recollection of my past or my childhood because I moved here at such a young age. And, like, things back in Africa, with all the stuff that was going on, I don't remember anything, right? And so now I'm floating, and then I went back to my childhood. I went back to being in Africa. I went back to, like, running around. Like, this is, and it's wild to me because I can't even go back there now. But when I was on the Toad, it took me there. I'm there, and I'm seeing my mom. I'm seeing my dad. At the time I had 2 older siblings who were twins, and I'm just seeing us running around, and, like, it was peaceful. Like, I released, man. And I just sunk in there. It was peaceful, and then it was like I'm floating, and it just, like, and my hands are just, like, free now. And all of a sudden, like, I turned over, like, now I'm laying on my back. And I'm just kind of sitting there. And then at this point, like, I didn't want this to end, And so, like, after, like, 30 plus minutes of me just freaking out, and all of a sudden now I'm just like, man. And then finally, when I finally came down from it 45 minutes later, like, the 2 guys in there, Nick being one of them, was just like, yo, I've never seen anybody, like, freak out the way. But then again, I think a lot of it was just I had to release so much tension and trauma that I was dealing with from my childhood because, I moved here because it's a war-torn country. You know what I mean? Like, my father and my parents made sacrifices to bring me and my siblings here, just based off the fact that there was nothing good where we were at the time.
So while you were in Sudan, there was war going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, my country, there's still war going on today.
Wow.
I mean, like, it's. I think we just marked our 10-year anniversary of our independence, where we had to separate from. So now it's no longer Sudan. Now it's Republic of South Sudan. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just like there's so much stuff, and I still think about that to this day, where there's so much stuff back home that I feel like my purpose is to try to help back home. I'm just not in a position right now. I'm not in a position right now that I'm able to do that. So, I mean, maybe that trauma, all that stuff, like, it hit me, man. And yeah, I mean, and maybe 2 years ago, that was another eye opener then too, because during that stint, and that's around that time, that's when I met you. And then after that, a few months after that, that's when I went back to work, and that's when I started taking my real estate courses, and that's when I started taking that step back. So after that, I started taking that step back, and that's when I started focusing more on me and my girlfriend at the time, now who's my wife, who's the mother of our first child. And you know what I mean? It's just crazy how I didn't even know I needed that. But I needed that. But the hard thing is, when you look like me, a lot of people that look like me, African Americans, they don't even want to try any of that stuff. I don't know if it's because culturally we feel as if it's not for us, or we just have this thing about us. So when I did that, like even Nick was going like, we need more African Americans to do this. And like realistically, I would do it again. I just don't know when. For me, it's not a situation of just kind of just doing it. Now it's more of a situation where it's like, if I hit a fork on the road or if I hit a wall, it's something that's going to allow me to help me get to where I need to get to. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's what happened to me 2 years ago.
Wow.
Man, I know.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, man, it happened.
So I'm gonna back up just a tiny bit just so I can kind of explain what the toad is.
I need to hear this.
So a lot of people have heard of DMT because Joe Rogan started talking about it on his podcast a lot and kind of made it popular. Mm-hmm. So DMT is this molecule that's found in all living things. It's in plants, it's in our bodies. Almost all living things contain DMT. And what happens is when you smoke DMT, it sends you to what people say is like another dimension. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people report going through like this colorful wormhole and then getting out on the other side of it and seeing like all these geometric shapes and patterns and things. And people talk about when they feel like they're there for a long time, hours, and it only lasts like 10, 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. So that's DMT. It stands for dimethyltryptamine. Okay. There's a smokable version, and then there's also the version that's in ayahuasca, which is activated through the gut.
You drink that, right?
You drink ayahuasca.
Because we did drink something too later on that day.
Yeah. So I think you guys did Wachuma, which is a little bit different, or San Pedro.
San Pedro.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
So there's that form of DMT, but then there's also 5-MeO DMT, which stands for 5-methoxy-dimethyltryptamine. Mm-hmm. So it's a different form of DMT. And 5-methoxy-dimethyltryptamine is found in the secretion of the Sonoran desert toad. So the way that they do it is at a certain time of the year, mm-hmm. these toads come out. And I think it's in like Mexico, New Mexico area, South Texas maybe. And they find these toads called the Sonoran desert toad and they capture them. Mm-hmm. And these toads have all these nodes across their back that excretes this like pus, or like there's a secretion that comes out. And I don't know if it comes out naturally or if they have to squeeze them. Mm. But either way, they get the secretion off of this toad's back and they put it onto a sheet of glass. So that way it dries there. So the secretion will dry on the sheet of glass. And then what you do is you just take up that dried secretion and then you put it into like a pipe to smoke. And then that's how you smoke the toad. And so once you do smoke the 5-MeO DMT, people report going to this like state of like unity consciousness where they become one with everything, and some people have visions like you do. Some people report just being in like this space of white light. So this medicine is what it's referred to, has been used by tribes for many, many years. And in our culture, DMT, 5-MeO DMT, and other psychedelics or psychoactive substances have kind of been given a bad stigma or bad rep because they are super powerful. Like they're literally like dynamite. You know, just because they exist doesn't mean they're all going to do good all the time. Yeah. And what happened in the 60s and into the 70s is there was this whole like hippie age where all these like
Woodstock.
Woodstock, and they were like just taking a bunch of acid and mushrooms and just taking copious amounts of it, and some bad things happened because it was the equivalent of giving someone a plane who doesn't know how to fly a plane. They're going to crash the damn plane. Mm-hmm. So in these tribes around the world, they've had these traditions and rituals and ceremonies set up around these medicines to use them in the proper way. Mm-hmm. That way you can kind of get guided through the experience by someone who's, say, a black belt, who knows how to navigate it, as opposed to you're just hanging out with a bunch of friends, doing a bunch of LSD or mushrooms. Things could go wrong. Then that doesn't mean they always will. Mm-hmm. But I just kind of wanted to set the stage for like what 5-MeO DMT is. And if people have like these misconceptions about it, you know, I get it, because there's been a lot of, you know, propaganda and stigma around it in the media throughout the years. And I think a big reason why is because what these medicines and substances do is they do give us the opportunity to go back to our childhood and heal certain things and kind of become more whole within ourselves, as opposed to like maybe taking a pharmaceutical or some prescription or something else that there's money behind it, and so it kind of like gets right to the root.
Yeah.
And it's not a medicine where you need to take consistently to get the benefits from. So I don't know if that's the whole reason why it's been kind of stigmatized the way it has, but either way, I feel like it's something that would be powerful for just a lot of different people to be able to go back and heal certain things and live more in alignment, given it's in a safe space and everything is, safe and pure and you're in just a good environment.
Well, you think about it. I mean, if something like this allows you to go back and allows you to eliminate all those traumas, and then you get to a point where you're just the best version of yourself, you don't have to constantly keep coming back to it as you would going to a doctor, being prescribed something, right? And then like you talked about the money aspect of it, it's like that money stops flowing because now, like realistically, like if I didn't do it, maybe I said, hey, you know what, let me go get checked out, or let me go do this, and then all of a sudden they prescribe me something, and then it just doesn't go away because now I feel like I needed that. I recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, I do too. If you're called to it, obviously make sure you take the precautions and you're doing it in a safe and trusted way. But it's kind of flips the whole idea of health on its head because the way I kind of view our current health institution, don't get me wrong, there's absolutely amazing benefits of it. Like if I get in a car crash, take me to the fucking hospital.
Yeah.
But, when it comes to like the psychiatric department and mental health and the whole anxiety and depression, that's something where I think it's kind of failing us because it's kind of just putting Band-Aids on bullet holes is a term that I've heard somewhere. That I didn't come up with that. So if someone knows who said that, let me know. But yeah, I just think it'd be a really good way to actually heal those bullet wounds as opposed to just, put Band-Aids on them.
And you said it best though, too. It's like having someone who is a black belt with you. Because I felt the people that I was with were black belts. And so I felt as if I was with the right people.
Right.
I wouldn't recommend doing it on your own.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think with any
first time.
With any psychedelic, I don't think it's something where you hear something like this and be like, all right, I'm going to go to my local drug dealer who's also selling, crack and weed and everything and go get it from them and just go. Like there's a sacred way to do it, which I feel like really amplifies the healing effects if you do it in that way.
Yeah, nah, man. Hey, I appreciate the fact that you clarified it all for me because, like I said, when I did it, he explained it. I mean, I knew what I was getting myself into, but just hearing it again, because I think sometimes what happens is I don't want infobesity. I don't want to ask too many questions and get nervous about something. Sometimes the best thing for me to do is just to do it. Now, granted, like I know nowadays things are laced and the list goes on, but when it's people that you trust, I mean, yeah, I'm happy I did it.
Yeah, absolutely. I am too. I think I met you like 2 weeks.
I know.
After you did that.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
It's a completely different person.
Thanks for coming on though, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Dude, this was fun. I'll definitely have you back on for sure.
Respect.
Good time. Appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you.
Where can people find you?
So on Instagram at Tim Nela, TIMNELA. On Facebook at Tim Nela, TIMNELA. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. I mean, if you want to reach out to me, please reach out to me. I mean, I'd love to connect with you. Is
there any like last thoughts or words you want to leave with anyone listening to this?
Man, all I really got to say is just be yourself. Be the best version of yourself. Be the best version of yourself, and then everything else will fall in place. That's it.
Let's go. Appreciate it, bro.
Appreciate you.